Pilot refuses to fly with single dad Copilot, turns pale when he reveals he owns the aircraft. The morning sun poured through the airport terminal, reflecting off the sleek fuselage of a private jet parked on the tarmac. Inside, pilot Ava Reynolds was meticulously running through her pre-flight checklist. She had flown hundreds of flights in her career, from commercial jets to private charters, but today felt different. She had been assigned a co-pilot she had never flown with before, a man named Daniel Carter. Ava's eyes narrowed when she saw him approach. Daniel was in his late 30s, casually dressed in jeans and a fitted jacket. His dark hair was slightly tousled, and he carried an air of calm confidence that seemed to command attention without demanding it. But it was more than his appearance that unsettled Ava. Something about him felt unusual. "Good morning, Captain Reynolds," Daniel said with a warm smile, extending his hand. Ava shook it quickly, her mind racing. "Co-pilot Carter, I presume. Let's get the pre-flight inspection done." They walked around the aircraft together, checking fuel levels, tires, and avionics. Ava couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Normally, co-pilots came with extensive resumes, recommendations, or at least a visible hierarchy of experience. Daniel, however, seemed too relaxed. "So, where's your flight experience?" Ava asked, trying to hide the edge in her voice. Daniel chuckled softly. "I've flown commercially and privately, but I think you'll find I handle this plane just fine." Ava raised an eyebrow. "I'll be the judge of that. I don't take chances." Inside the cockpit, Ava began reviewing the flight plan while Daniel familiarized himself with the controls. The flight was a short one, a routine run from New York to Boston. Everything seemed ordinary, yet the tension in the cockpit was palpable. Ava's fingers drummed on the dashboard as she glanced at Daniel. "Are you sure you're certified for this aircraft?" she asked, a note of suspicion in her tone. Daniel nodded, his expression calm. Certified and confident. Ava's jaw tightened. Something about his demeanor suggested that confidence might border on arrogance. She had flown with her share of overconfident pilots, and she had learned the hard way how dangerous that could be. As they taxied down the runway, Ava kept a watchful eye on Daniel. He handled the instruments smoothly, executing pre-flight procedures with precision. Despite herself, she began to notice that his skills were impeccable, almost too impeccable. Then, just as they lifted off into the clear morning sky, Daniel spoke. "You know," he said casually, "there's something I haven't mentioned yet." Ava glanced at him, wary. "And what's that?" Daniel smiled faintly. "I actually own this aircraft." Ava froze mid-check, her heart skipping a beat. She looked at him, her mind struggling to process the revelation. "You own this plane?" she asked, her voice betraying a mixture of shock and disbelief. Daniel nodded, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Yes. I manage the maintenance, the scheduling. I take my responsibility very seriously." Ava's face paled. She had dealt with owners before, but never like this, calm, unpretentious, yet clearly in complete control. Most owners she had flown with were either absent, micromanaging, or trying to interfere with the flight unnecessarily. This was different. This man had hands-on experience and authority, yet he exuded humility. You fly with me?" Ava stammered, suddenly aware of the irony. She, the seasoned pilot, had been skeptical of a man who owned the plane. Now she realized he could have flown it himself any time he wanted, and yet he had chosen to co-pilot alongside her. Daniel noticed her hesitation and reached over, tapping a few controls to demonstrate a maneuver. "Relax, Captain. I'm not here to undermine you. I just want to make sure everything goes smoothly." Ava exhaled slowly, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. She glanced at the horizon, the city shrinking beneath them. Suddenly, the situation didn't feel threatening anymore. It felt collaborative. As they ascended, Daniel shared stories of why he had purchased the aircraft, not for prestige or status, but to create a business that provided safe, comfortable travel for clients who valued efficiency and discretion. His voice was calm, his words sincere. Ava couldn't help but be impressed. Hours passed smoothly. Daniel's calm professionalism complemented Ava's precision, and together they executed a near-perfect flight. They landed in Boston without a single issue, taxiing to the terminal as the sun dipped low over the city. As they shut down the engines, Ava turned to Daniel, a small smile breaking through her professional facade. "I have to admit, I misjudged you." Daniel laughed softly. "It happens more than you think. People see someone casually dressed, and they assume incompetence. Funny how that works." Ava shook her head, laughing despite herself. "I should have known better. Owning the plane, handling it yourself, you really are different." Daniel's expression softened. "Different in a good way, I hope." "You are," Ava said firmly. "And I'd fly with you again anytime." They walked down the tarmac together, the cool evening air brushing against their faces. For Ava, the flight had been more than just a professional experience. It had been a lesson in humility, trust, and the dangers of underestimating someone based on appearances. Daniel glanced at her, a playful glint in his eye. "Next flight, I promise not to surprise you with any revelations." Ava smirked. "I'll believe it when I see it." As the sun set behind the skyline, the two pilots stood together, ready to face the skies as a team. Ava knew one thing for certain: first impressions could be deceiving, and trust could be earned in ways that numbers and resumes never could. And for Daniel, the flight had reaffirmed his belief that flying wasn't about titles or appearances. It was about skill, responsibility, and the courage to take off. Together, the jet gleamed under the fading light, ready for the next adventure, carrying with it a story of misjudged perceptions, newfound respect, and the bond between two pilots who had learned to trust each other in the skies.